Here ends the Silmarillion. If it has passed from the high and the beautiful to darkness and ruin, that was of old the fate of Arda marred, and if any change shall come and the marring be amended, Manwë and Varda may know, but they have not revealed it, and it is not declared in the dooms of Mandos. Throughout Tolkien's work runs this theme or motif of sorrow, but it is not to say that the stories are all tragedies, rather that within the deepest well of sorrow, what joy there is shines the brighter. And I think the entirety of the Silmarillion truly is the saddest story ever, but also the most joyful, because you cannot truly have one without the other. But to truly understand Tolkien's saddest quote, most sorrowful quote, one must first have at least a basic understanding of the story of Beren and Luthien, which was inspired by, though not allegorical to, his relationship with his wife, and how much he truly revered her. And her name was Edith, by the way. When Morgoth slew the two trees, Laurelin and Telperion, and fled Valinor with the Silmarils in hand, he went back to Angband and set the holy jewels within his iron crown. And ere he was overthrown, only one ever escaped, and that was at the hands of Beren and Luthien. So after the Dagor Bragollach, the Battle of Sudden Flame, Beren, after winning great renown, stumbled his way into Doriath through the girdle of Melian, and first laid eyes on Luthien, who he named Tinuviel, or Nightingale. And I will not read the beautiful quotes that Tolkien has to describe Luthien Tinuviel here, because there are many pages of that, frankly. But suffice it to say, it's beautiful poetry on its own. Thingol did not approve of the love of Beren and Luthien initially, because Luthien was of high lineage. Thingol himself had gone to Valinor and laid eyes on the two trees, and is not counted among the Grey Elves, though he was one of their great leaders, and her mother was Melian the Maya. Therefore, if Beren was going to marry Luthien, Thingol would demand a strong dowry indeed. He demanded nothing less than a Silmaril from the Iron Crown of Morgoth, to which Beren, laughing, responded, "For little price do elven kings sell their daughters, for gems and things made by craft. But if this is your will, Thingol, I will perform it, and when we meet again, my hand shall hold a Silmaril from the Iron Crown, for you have not looked the last upon Beren, son of Barahir." And with that he left. And through great deeds and a magnificently long journey that is far too long for this video, he and his love, Luthien Tinuviel, made their way into the heart of Angband, into Morgoth's realm, and using their wits and their powers, wrested from his crown a single Silmaril. But before the Silmaril could be given to Thingol, Beren was slain, and in sorrow Luthien died as well. But her body did not decay, but her spirit fled to the halls of Mandos. Now it's important to realize here that the fates of elves and men in the universe of Tolkien are inherently sundered. Elf spirits do not die until the world dies. They are immortal. Their bodies may be slain, but they will be forever in the halls of Mandos. Whereas humans, in this case mortal men, their spirits abide a short while in Mandos, but then depart the world. And that's known as the gift of Iluvatar, the fact that they can truly rest by leaving the world. Yet Beren's spirit tarried in the halls of Mandos and awaited Luthien, but they were not rejoined. So she sang a song before Mandos, the doomsman of the Valar, and in it was all of the sorrow and pleading that is inherent to life. And her plea and sorrow was so great, and her love and her pain deeper than those others, that Mandos was moved who never before had been moved. So one time and one time alone, Beren and Luthien were able to leave Valinor and return to the world of the living, and both of them together would be judged among mortals. So while Luthien still had the appearance of an elf, her fate was that of a mortal, meaning that when she died, her beauty would truly be gone from the world forever, and her spirit would depart. And that's what happened. They went to Tol Galen and lived out the rest of their lives in peace, with one minor adventure that's kind of outside of the scope of this tale. But all in all, they lived peacefully until their deaths, and had a child, Dior, who is the great and so on grandfather of Aragorn. Now that whole story is important because you really have to understand that before you can truly drink full the cup of woe that Tolkien has prepared with this quote. So Tolkien's wife Edith died, and in a letter to his son shortly after her death in 1971, Tolkien wrote this: "I never called Edith Luthien, but she was the source of the story that in time became the chief part of the Silmarillion. It was first conceived in a small woodland glade filled with hemlocks at Roos in Yorkshire, where I was for a brief time in command of an outpost of the Humber garrison of 1917. And she was able to live with me for a while. In those days her hair was raven, her skin clear, her eyes brighter than you have seen them, and she could sing. But the story has gone crooked, and I am left, and I cannot plead before the inexorable Mandos."